Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Cosmos Society interview with Bettina Joy de Guzman, who's an instrumentalist and a classicist, and she has she is president of the California Classical Association South and organizes panels, discussions. She has been an associate and visiting artist for the Center for Hellenic Studies at Harvard University, and is an educator, teacher, teaching Latin in high school. So we'd like to ask you a few things about that. So over to you, Janet.
Hi, Bettina. Along with other language offerings, what is the attitude towards Latin, and what kind of enrollment do you have for learning Latin?
This year, it really went back up. For a while, it had gone down. My school has 6 other languages. It's amazing. So, in other words, I'm competing with all these different languages. And yet, my Latin 1 this year, I had something like 41 students enrolled, and Latin 2 is a few less than that, and Latin 3 a few less than that, and AP Latin. But I mean, a total of at least 100 students, something like 120 students this year, Latin, so levels 1 through 4. And they are very enthused, very enthusiastic students. It becomes a sort of niche group, the, the ones who want to take these languages. And because we have so many different languages being taught in my school, sometimes I can teach ancient Greek, but they want a certain number, right? So, and a few, like 7 years back was the last time I taught ancient Greek. But they were very enthused, when there was a class. And when I approach language teaching, there's always the same framework, same pedagogical framework I have in mind. And it's the most important thing is to build a trust between me and the student. And that means creating a safe environment, making them feel relaxed and challenged. Like, I want them to want to come to class. And everyone is there for a different reason. They're there, each student have different interests, motivation to be there. They have different skill level coming in. And I have to keep that in mind. And how best to integrate it by making everyone want to work together. And to make them want to work together, you want to make them become friends with each other. And these are the questions like, how do you do that? Well, you start by being friendly yourself. I am very friendly with them, and I am very open by beginning and saying, for some of you, Latin will be difficult. For some of you, it will be easy. And when I say Latin, I mean the different aspects of Latin studies. So Roman culture and history. Then you get grammar. And you get just remembering all this vocabulary. So from day one, I start just like any other language teacher would, like, hi, hello, how do you say that in Latin? And I have them start speaking it.
Hi, Bettina. So given that it is not a modern spoken language, how do students practice?
Well, I teach classical Latin rather than ecclesiastical or Neo-Latin. I don't go into that. So when I teach them, I approach it in terms of, let's open up the book, okay, and let's just look at the page. And we're teaching from the Cambridge, and I started conversationally. Like, the first one says, Caecilius est pater, right? Okay, does anybody know any derivatives? And I explain what derivative is. You can't assume kids know what that is, so I give some examples. And then they say a few things. They go, okay, wonderful. Okay, now let's pronounce this. Everybody, let's say it together. And I go, all right. Now S means he is. Okay, now this is the first page. It does not teach you sum for a long time. I go, so that means he, she, it is. So let me tell you guys that there's such a thing as sum. Sum meaning I am. So everybody say sum, I am. Okay, so I already have them saying it. I go, all right. So what do you think? If I asked you, in English, are you a father? And I hope most of you are going to say no. And you'd say, no. All right. So what's the word for that? Okay. And I teach them and I go, I am not a father. All right. Wonderful. Okay. And then I add the enclitic, and I'm going to say this word, fancy word, enclitic, and it's like ne, and it just means like, it's a question word. So then, and so that's how I engage. I just, I'm looking at that sentence, and I'm only going to squeeze it so far. Then I go to the next one. So by the time they come home on the first day, they are already thinking in terms of he's that, I am not. And then I even say, you are you? And the question. And that's just day one. That's the sort of thing I do. So looking at the text, I already start teaching from outside the text. And then I start bringing in Wheelock's grammar, like the very next day. Okay, open this up. And don't worry, we're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to do little bits at a time to get it. My classes are always very competitive. We do all the competitions for the Junior Classical League, all of them. And they always do very well. And we do National Latin exam every March. So this approach of making it fun and challenging. So I'm trying to hit all the levels, right? I'm trying to get the kids who are anxious not to be anxious by making sure everyone talks. So in a class of 40 kids, every other day, everybody talks. And I can already sense if they're not likely to answer a grammar question or whatever. So I'll just say, what do you think? Do you think yes or no? So that at least you can hear their voice. Their answer is yes or no. Oh, fabulous, thank you. And they feel relaxed, like, okay, And then I tell them my mistakes. I'll say, okay, I am, for instance, I'm trying to learn 21 different languages. And trust me, out of those, I'm not going to remember most of this, right? And right now, if I say I'm fluent in 5, I mean, give me a week and let me re-immerse myself in this before I can talk in a very intelligible way with someone. Because even like my native Filipino, it takes me a few moments, to re-engage with my mother. In one day, I do 4 different languages. I speak to, I try.
Wow, that's incredible.
My friends from across the world are always trying to talk to me. And so I explain to the students, I say, I understand that you're not going to remember the vocabulary from yesterday, and that's okay. We do it all over again. I don't give homework. That might surprise a lot of people, but I don't. I do give quizzes, and they're oral quizzes. So you either know it or you don't. But here's the thing. Don't freak out. You can retake it. You can retake it as many times as you want, and it replaces your grade. So for instance, today, you don't know what the heck I'm saying. Okay, great. Now you're going to go back and you're going to study those words. You're going to get 9 out of 10 tomorrow. Fantastic. If you're happy with that grade, great. If you're not and you want a 10 out of 10, we repeat it for you, the next day. And it's in class and everybody can see everyone making mistakes. I make mistakes. I ask someone, so what language do you speak at home? Oh, Mandarin. Okay, can you say a sentence for me? Oh gosh, wow, I can't repeat that. Oh, that's difficult for me. And then we all laugh and I say, so you see, this to me is a new language, and I understand that for Latin is a new language for you, or ancient Greek's a new language for you. So they have to know that it's perfectly okay and part of the process to make mistakes. And you don't get language acquisition unless you do, because something happens in your brain when you do, it fixes it and it tries again. And some kids will never be awesome at grammar. I don't need awesome. I just need progress. I just need them to try. So I grade them according to how much they try. And if they're very good at one aspect, that makes their grade go up. So I give lots of extra credit. And to me, I'm going for lifelong learners. And I have had lifelong learners since I've been teaching for a very long time. I look way younger than I am, and so I've taught kids from undergrad in UC Irvine, and now they're doctors and lawyers, and they're still in touch with me, and they tell me, they have their own families, and they're like, yeah, I still remember all your lessons from back then, even when they were not initially classicists. They came in as bio students. I was teaching scientific terminology, and I got them so interested that they went ahead and took some culture classes from me. And that's what I'm going for. I'm going for interdisciplinary love of learning.
Do you make use of any digital tools while teaching?
Yes, absolutely. So I do use many videos, the ones that are appropriate for high school. So Darius Arias, AIRC, Roman education, anything is very good. Mary Beards, they love Mary Beards. Any videos on her. But those are the cultural ones. And for grammar, there are many wonderful YouTube grammar reviews now. And they take it step by step and they break it down. So, and I encourage them. I put the links up on Teams. I say, okay, so for today, we did this, and I'm just introducing it to you, so you can go back and review it and look at it. If what I say is not enough, because these are wonderful and accessible to everyone. And of course, there's Cambridge. The Cambridge editions come with the online links. And so I put those up for the kids. They have Quizlets, and I encourage them very much to do Quizlets on your own, do it in your own time, or if you want during in class. Okay, so I do this thing where we're fortunate enough to have little boards like this big for individual. Each student can have one, and I give them markers so they can write their responses really quick and then put it up if they want to do it that way. And we play games, let's see how quick you can write the response. But also there's such a thing as, Quizlet, there's Kahoot, and we do games like those, and those give the statistics right away. Oh, how many of you got this? Oh, all right, and I don't. But I don't use it as often as all that, because I want the kids' eyes to be on each other and on me and on the book. I think they look at technology, they look at their computer quite a lot, and they do get headaches, and I sure do after a while. And when I give PowerPoint presentations, that's already enough. So I have to switch that off and go look at the book and practice speaking with each other, and so on. So I do limit it to a few minutes a day. But absolutely, how else can you engage the kids with a storytelling? I do it both ways. I do actual storytelling, and they love it because, like, wow, someone's telling us a story like it's story time. And in fact, I say it, story time, kids. All right, here we go. But then I do it again with a PowerPoint, with the artwork, with the archaeology and the latest things. And I include, of course, interviews of people from CHS. And the world is so full now of information, and it's just linking them to it. So it's really wonderful. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Technology in a Roman culture, Latin studies, absolutely necessary.
Yeah, these are good tips, Bettina. Do you have top tips for those studying Latin or Greek, whether they are in a class or study group or self-learning by themselves? Do you have some tips, just a few tips like that you can throw?
Okay, so I do actually tutor some students, ones who are already, let's say, doing multiple languages, but they still want to do Latin and it doesn't fit in their schedule, and they'll never be my students. So these are young kids, seventh graders, so they're 11 or 12, or even ninth graders, but they know they will never have the opportunity to take high school Latin. And so when I do like a Zoom thing with them, I start by giving them a goal, right? So the easy goal is the National Latin Exam syllabus. Okay, so there's got to be a list, a goal of some sort that you talk about. What is it that we want to prepare you for? Whether it's an exam in March, okay, or what are your goals? Oh, it's to be able to read this someday. Oh, fantastic. So you have to have a goal, and you can fail at achieving the goal at a certain time frame, and that's okay too. So the thing is, track your progress in some way. And sometimes it's really fun when, let's say, a Latin 3 student says, oh gosh, I don't know Latin. And go, really? Let's go to book 1, Latin 1. Do you remember this? And they laugh and I go, do you see how far you've come since then? So be kind to yourself. My goodness, you learned a whole language, and while you're learning the language, you should also be reading up on culture. So you have to have links. Ask yourself all these questions. Use Wikipedia as a bouncing point for any questions that you have. Who the heck is Marcus Aurelius? Okay, look it up. Be curious, and then you can ask your teacher about it just to check, because what you see in Wikipedia, can you verify it? What you see on YouTube, can you verify? So you have to go through the information process of finding, going out, being curious, then checking with an expert so that there's no misinformation, because unfortunately there is misinformation as well. But be curious and read books, watch videos, ask the questions. That's the biggest tip I can give, because the more questions you ask, the more curious you get, and you get into rabbit holes, you will find the teachers who can guide you, and hopefully you find the good teachers, and they can help you focus on whatever it is that you're trying to learn.
That's a fantastic tip for learning anything, I think, not just languages. And thank you for the great inspiration. And I wish I was sitting in your class when I was that age. So thank you very much for joining us, Bettina, and for all that good information. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. Bye, all.